or the other. And it's my pleasure and honor to welcome Professor Latif Sani, who is the project leader for the Basics 2 project. He's joining us for this meeting today. Professor Sani will also be representing Dr. Alfred Dixon, who is the Director for Partnerships and Delivery at IITA. Of course, we have in the house Mr. Charles Adeniji, who is the President of Industrial Cassava Stakeholders Association of Nigeria. We have Honorable Dr. Aliu Rabiu Kofi, the National President, Nigeria Cassava Growers Association. We have Sir Francis Chia, who is also a seed producer, but again, he's the president of the National Association of Cassava Seed Entrepreneurs. We have the permanent secretary from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in Nigeria. He's being represented by Mrs. Sugra Mahmood, and he will be giving us the keynote address. Let me take this opportunity to also recognize our panelists, Dr. Mrs. Augusta, who is a member of NACSEN also. We also have Dr. Asumuga. Dr. Asumuga is the acting executive director for National Root Crops Research Institute, Umudike. He is here with us. We have Mr. Paul Eneko, the Vice President of NACSNI. We also have the country manager for Mennonite Economic Development Associate, simply known as MEDA, in person of Mr. Steve Magige, who is with us, and he will be sharing experiences from Tanzania. Of course, we have a senior program manager with Catholic Relief Services, Mr. Tosin Oni, who is with us. Let me also recognize the presence of Dr. Philip Ojo, the DG of National Agricultural Seed Council, NASC, who has taken time to join us. And of course, from the industry, the financing institutions, we have Mr. Olushola Obikonye of Sterling Bank, and of course, Mr. Ayodele Olaleye of Veritas Capital. In case I miss out any person, I will be coming back to recognize such persons. But distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is a very timely event, and we'll be hearing from the experts considering the critical role that finance and insurance play in the ag space. Permit me, ladies and gentlemen, to invite Mr. Temitope Adegoroye, who will give us the opening remarks and the purpose of the summit. Let me let the audience know that Temi is the managing partner of Sahel Consulting, and he is actually the main person that has convened us to this meeting. So, Temi, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Godwin. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. And good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for joining this Cassava Seed Summit for 2022. I will run very quickly through my welcome remarks. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm honored and privileged to welcome you to the Cassava Seed Summit 2022, organized by Messiah Consulting, Catholic Relief Services, ITA, and the Building an Economically Sustainable and Integrated Cassava Seed System Phase 2 project team in both Nigeria and Tanzania, led by the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, ITA. Thank you for taking the time to join us for the events. This is the second edition of the summit, with the first edition I held last year. And I'm thrilled to observe on this platform the presence of many colleagues and experts in the cassava value chain and champions of agricultural transformation in Nigeria and across Africa. I would like to recognize the presence of the Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mr. Ernest Makie, represented by our own dear friend, Mrs. Shubra Mahmoud. Thank you very much for joining. The Director General, National Agricultural State Council, Dr. Philip Ushebuju. Thank you so much, sir, for making the time. The National President, Nigeria Cassava Growers Association, Honorable Dr. Ali Rabi Kofi. Thank you so much. The President, Industrial Cassava Stakeholders Association Nigeria, Mr. Charles Adilinji. We appreciate you. The President, National Association of Cassava Seed Entrepreneurs Network, Sir Francis Chia. Thank you very much. All other distinguished panelists and participants, thank you for gracing this event. We are honored to have you in our midst. I would also like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Basics 2 implementing partners under the leadership of the Institute, the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, ITA, Catholic Relief Services, National Agricultural Seed Council, National Root Crop Research Institute, ITA Good Seed, Udike Seeds, and all other partners in both Nigeria and Tanzania for their contribution and commitment towards this event. Despite being the largest producer of cassava in the world, the yield for cassava in Nigeria lags behind the global attainable yields, and I think we all are on the same page regarding that. In reality, Nigeria accounts for almost 20% of the global cassava production, but the cassava seed system and market in Nigeria faces various challenges, which contributes to low usage of improved varieties and quality seed and low yields relative to other top cassava producing countries in the world. Seed systems play a very important role in catalyzing the potential of crops, and cassava is no exception. It is imperative to drive the much needed change in the sector by facilitating the emergence of a viable and sustainable formal cassava seed system. And the Basics 2 project, the Building an Economically Sustainable and Integrated Cassava Seed System project, is an innovative program being implemented in Nigeria and Tanzania, which intends to address the identified gaps in the cassava value chain by creating a formal seed system for cassava that provide farmers with access to affordable, quality assured seeds of cassava varieties through the establishment of a commercially viable seed value chain operating across breeder, foundation, and commercial seed levels. The roadmap for establishing a viable, commercial, sustainable formal cassava seed system cannot be achieved in isolation. And the Cassava Seed Business Summit is really organized and being implemented by the Basics 2 project partners, as well as Sahel Consulting to serve as a platform for stakeholders in the cassava seed sector to collaborate and share innovative solutions and ideas that will foster the emergence of a sustainable formal cassava seed system. This summit will focus specifically on the finance and insurance opportunities for stakeholders in the value chain. It is crucial to expose cassava entrepreneurs and stakeholders to business opportunities which support increased production yields of improved cassava, while also ensuring the sustainable growth of the cassava seed system. This summit promises to encourage participants in all across the sector to put on their thinking caps and harness the opportunities in the emerging formal seed system for cassava. And industry leaders and experts in finance and insurance within the agricultural sector will provide insights on cassava stem production and other business opportunities within the value chain, and how we can actually start to consider financing and insurance models that are best fit models for cassava stem multiplication. Finally, this summit is also a call to action, for future collaboration and partnerships amongst all stakeholders. And we're hoping that we'll see a lot more energy and participation from our finance and insurance partners to support the ongoing activities of cassava seed entrepreneurs as well as processors who are playing significant role in the cassava seed system, former cassava system development in Nigeria. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all once again, and I encourage every one of us to send live messages on the summit on all our social media platforms using the hashtag Cassava Seed Summit 2022. Please input all your comments and questions in the chat box, and our team will respond to all of them accordingly. Today promises to be full of learning and highly insightful, so I do hope that you all will enjoy this summit. Thank you so much. Dr. Atsa, I hand over to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Temi, for those wonderful remarks. And I think I picked two things that are very important for all of us. And just for emphasis, the first point was we can't achieve sustainable seed system in isolation. And therefore, it means it is an open invitation to all stakeholders here to participate in the seed system. I see we have about 100 participants. And the second thing that you made mention is that we need to put on our thinking caps and harness the opportunities in the cassava seed system. I think these two things are very critical for all of us. And as I said earlier, this meeting should give each and every one of us the opportunity to pick something to benefit himself and the society. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we invite Professor Lateef Sani to give us the opening statement on behalf of Dr. Alfred Dixon from IIT. Sani, over to you, please. Oh, Professor Sani is saying that we should unmute him.
Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome all of us to this program on behalf of Chief Alfred Dixon. And because of time factor, I'm going to also talk to two slides.
Unfortunately, we can't hear you, Professor Lateef Sani.
For investigations, but
we can hardly hear you. So for the interest of time, may I propose that while Professor Lateef Sani is trying to get a better network, we can move quickly and have the goodwill messages, starting with Mr. Charles Adeniji, please. Over to you, Charles. Can we unmute Charles?
Thank you, Dr. Asha. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As previously introduced, I am Charles Adeniji, President of Industrial Cassava Stakeholders Association of Nigeria, also known as ICSAN. And I'm very pleased to deliver a goodwill message at this summit this morning. Just like last year, I believe the outcome will be rewarding to the cassava sector. It is encouraging to note the continuity of efforts and the unwavering interest of the organizers, namely Sahel Consulting Services, the building an economically sustainable and integrated cassava seed system, Project 2, the Catholic Relief Services, and the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA, to ensure the sustainability of the formal cassava seed system, which we started last year. In this continuing efforts to foster the emergence of an economically viable and sustainable formal cassava seed system, this edition, as I understand it, will focus principally on identifying available opportunities in finance and insurance to strengthen an enabling environment for the growth of the formal cassava seed system. I believe this is an appropriate next step if we are able to establish access to favorable funding for smallholder farmers, as alluded earlier on by Temi, and the other agric entrepreneurs. We might begin to improve yields per hectare that has remained low compared to global practices, best practices. Our smallholder farmers will be able to afford cassava stem, the variety that would disease resistant and high yielding. And this might begin, and we might begin to meet the demand of cassava stems to cassava growers, which was estimated in 2020 at 10 billion. On finance, our experts here today may wish to consider the Anchor Borrowers Scheme, which provides an opportunity to access credit at a more competitive rate, even though the scheme may be burdened with administrative and process challenges. Other financing options include sourcing with development partners, such as Farm Fit Fund, that's a fund of IDH, infra credits, and others. These are impact investors with interest in cassava value chain for direct investments, equity partnership, and de-risking. I encourage us to explore these companies to unlock much needed financing for the cassava sector. Okay. On insurance, we could explore for available opportunities with Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation, NAIC, the American International Insurance Company, ICO, and some other commercial banks. They insure against fire, drought, but are still working on insurance cover for vast devastation caused by cows. Generally, financing is available with the CBN, Central Bank of Nigeria. They have intervention funds. Commercial banks also provide certain level of financing. Fintech companies and microfinance institutions. However, the barrier had been, and probably still is, getting access to this financing, high interest rates, short tenure, and oftentimes very, very stringent conditions. The Industrial Cassava Stakeholders Association, ICSAN, we hope in the very near future, we envision to form an advocacy group to meet with the relevant section of CBN for special loan consideration for its members. This consideration will include single-digit interest loans, and what we have in mind is about 5% or less. Difficult, but you never know until you try. We'd also be asking for reasonable tenure and other favorable conditions. ICSAN would also consider advocacy for special insurance cover against farms' destruction by cows. ICSAN, for some of us that are not very familiar with what we are, ICSAN is a platform for all industrial cassava producers and processors in Nigeria to interact and share non-competitive market information. The platform also interacts with government agencies in the sector for advocacy and to support each other in market linkages and access to finance. ICSAN is made up of key industrial players within the cassava value chain, among which are processors of cassava, cassava research institutes, multinational end buyers, national and international development organizations. The association was established in July 2016 as a multi-stakeholder platform to organize industrial cassava sector, build coalitions, and create potentials for the overall development of the sector. Our key objectives remain advocacy and engagement with government and the general public for the development of the industrial cassava sector, organization of sector events that will promote awareness and overall development of the sector, facilitations of business partnership among members. Our association has the capacity to drive development in the cassava sector through the processing of cassava into industrial derivatives, such as starch, flour, ethanol, and the engagement of smallholder farmers in the industrial cassava value chain. Opportunity also exists through ICSAN to provide affordable financing to smallholder farmers. Members include industrial large-scale cassava processors who are the key drivers in mobilizing and integrating smallholder cassava farmers into cassava value chain through our various programs. We have members across the cassava belt in 4 geopolitical zones of the country. And I believe that the outcome of this summit will provide an insight to favorable financing and insurance opportunities, which will create the enabling environments for the emergence of an economically viable and sustainable formal cassava seed system. ICSAN, therefore, we congratulate the organizers of this summit and commit to supporting the Basic 2 program to achieve the set goals and objectives for the development of the cassava industry in Nigeria, as well as that of the whole of Africa. I wish this summit a fruitful and rewarding discussion. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Chairs, for the remarks. I think they were very insightful and welcomed. Thank you so much. I think 2 things are very important from his comment, his remarks. One is the issue of high interest rates that you reiterated. We hope that the authorities, the institutions here represented are listening, and they should take that seriously. how we can bring down the interest rates. And then you also mentioned the short tenure that some of these loans to farmers attract, which is not favorable. A crop like cassava takes at least a year, if not more. So that is not very good for agriculture. And of course, you mentioned the issue that all of us are facing, which has to do with the farmer-herder conflicts all over. Thank you so much for that. We are behind schedule, and I have two personalities to make their goodwill messages. I would request that they kindly make it in 2 minutes, if that's possible. The first is the national president for Cassava Growth, Dr. Aliu Rabiu Kofi, if he's in the house. Over to you. If not available, then we can go quickly to Sir Francis Chia, who is the president of the National Association of Cassava Seed Entrepreneurs Network. Let me invite Sir Francis to give us his goodwill message.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Good morning, the whole house. Like I rightly said, I am Sir Francis Chia, the president, National Association of Cassava Seed Entrepreneurs Network in Nigeria. This is a union that has been put in place just it was this year. By 31st of January to 2nd of February, we were in Abuja. And then we came together, and our mission of the union is to ensure that farmers benefit from quality, assured, and certified and improved varieties produced and sold by the cassava seed entrepreneurs to farmers. We have several various stakeholders and farmers within and outside our states and Nigeria in general. And we ensure that these varieties of cassava are made available to them on time and in good condition so that they can produce good yield. The union is into partnership with the Nigerian Cassava Growers Association, NCGA, both at our various states and national levels for the supply of certified seeds to them for planting. It may interest you to know that we were in Abuja on the 6th of October 2020, where the Basic 2 and NCGA was involved into signing an MOU. And we were also called and witnessed the MOU signing ceremony, which has also mandated the NCGA to get their source of materials from the cassava seed entrepreneurs. That was done on the 6th of October 2020. We have been into partnership and meetings at various levels with stakeholders such as CBN, CRS, IITA, NCGA, NACS, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, and so on. And this way we are able to put together because you are all aware of the fact that at certain times, before now, there were farmers were into getting their stems from different places. Some stored their own stems from their farm to use them to plant the following year. And these stems were gotten from unidentified sources. Hello? Hello? This was gotten from unidentified sources And then we were not even sure of the yield. And this has also affected the level at which we are producing. Nigeria is the highest producer of cassava in the whole of Africa, but you will understand that the output that we get is far below other countries who don't produce the way we do. Partly of this, we assume, is because we do not use the certified stems to plant and the good varieties that we need for different purposes. So as a result of this, we have decided to put ourselves together into a network, hoping that at the level of the national level, we'll be able to enhance these seed entrepreneurs that are scattered all over the states into an umbrella body, which will also help us because the demand for the stems we have not been able to meet at this level. Because like the Cassava Growers Association continuously supply their produce or products even during the dry season to the industries. All those stems you have to note that they are all destroyed during the dry season. And so it is our own duty as cassava seed entrepreneurs to make sure that we churn out quantities of stems from time to time so as to make up the demand of the cassava farmers. By this arrangement, therefore, we have put together this house, the national as a national body, which we are already processing, and we are almost halfway through the registration at the Corporate Affairs Commission. We have also started the registration with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Rural Development, in the Cooperative Department, which is also almost through. And we are hoping that by the time we finish this, we will be able to have a stable body in place. And this will help us to have intervention opportunities that will help us to produce more. But I assure you, cassava seed entrepreneur business is worthwhile. This is a business that you can make millions within 2 years. I want to give you an illustration. For instance, if you produce like 4 hectares of cassava stems, you are sure of getting between 300 to 500 bundles in 1 hectare. And so by the time you have up to that, and you have 4 hectares times 4, you are sure of about 2 million from 4 hectares. And then if you do that over a year, so for about 2 years, you will be able to get more than 4 million naira. So this is a business that can make you a millionaire within no time. This summit is a very good opportunity. We are very happy to be part of it. And we do hope that we will take this, at the end of this summit, a lot of changes will take place. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Sir Francis. We appreciate your being frank, telling us that, look, hey, there is a lot of money here in cassava stems. And we can see that from the demand that is coming from the growers, always looking for stems. And I hope that people that are attending this meeting will take advantage of that. I've been notified that Dr. Austin Maduka, the national PRO for Nigeria cassava growers, will be standing in for the president, Dr. Aliu Rabiu Kofi. Dr. Austin, please, you have 2 minutes to give us a goodwill message. Over.
Good morning, Mr. Godwin, Dr. Godwin.
Good morning, Dr. Austin.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for having me. Who is unavailable asking this morning? I want to thank the organizers of this program for this wonderful program you put together, the foundation for cassava cultivation of this program, and also find us worthy to be part of this great meeting. Yeah, with the celebration, you can see I'm on transit. I wouldn't want to because the network may not be, favorable as I drive now. I was just informed that this morning that I'll be standing in for the president. As the case may be, we will continue to partner, we'll continue to be partners in and I want to thank the for the celebration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Austin, for trying as much as possible to join, even though we can see you are in transit. But I think it shows the passion that you have for Cassava for you to create time to join. So we appreciate you for that, even though we could hardly hear what you said. Probably if you type in the chat box, that would be very helpful to us.
No problem, I'll do
Ladies
that.
and gentlemen, let me find out if Professor Latif Sani is still available to speak, to give the speech by Dr. Dixon before we move to the panel, to the keynote. Professor Sani, are you there? All right. So with that, we will move quickly to the keynote address that will be delivered by Mrs. Sugra Mahmood on behalf of Mr. Ernest Umaikeli, who is the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. May I invite Mrs. Sugra to make a presentation on behalf of the on behalf of the peers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for inviting us. I've been directed to represent the Permanent Secretary today at this meeting. So I will be reading his keynote address. And I would like to start on existing well-established protocols, please. And here it goes. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to deliver the keynote address at the second edition of the Cassava Seed Business Summit. I would like to first congratulate Sahel's Consulting Agriculture and Nutrition Limited, Catholic Relief Services, IITA, and the other partners of the building on an economically sustainable and integrated cassava seed system project for driving the establishment of a formal cassava seed system and organizing this summit as a platform for all stakeholders to collaborate in fostering the emergence of an economically viable and sustainable formal cassava seed system in Nigeria. Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava in the world, and almost 20% of the global cassava production is accounted by the country. And cassava remains a very important staple in our diets across the country. In addition, cassava is growing to be an increasingly important crop for industrial uses, which is key to our industrialization and job creation. The potential that the cassava crop therefore holds for our food security and the manufacturing sector in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized. However, we cannot neglect the key role of seed systems in crop production, and cassava is no different from the others. Historically, the predominance of the informal cassava seed system has had various implications for the production of the crop in Nigeria. This includes the occurrence of pests and diseases and low use of improved varieties, leading to low yield attainable per unit area compared to other countries that produce cassava. The establishment of a formal seed system is therefore essential to address these issues and further boost cassava production in the country. The efforts and commitments of the Basics 2 project and its implementing partners to support the formal cassava seed system development are quite laudable. It is on this note that we are gathered at the Cassava Seed Business Summit 2022 today with the timely theme of discussing finance and insurance opportunities for the sustainable growth of the cassava seed system. Finance and insurance support are very crucial for an essential part of the population involved in stem multiplication. That is the farmers and entrepreneurs who engage in the business of cassava stem multiplication in a way that improves their capacity to produce quality cassava stems to support crop production and ultimately the sustainable growth of the seed system, while also improving their incomes and livelihoods. I will focus on three key areas in my address today: awareness creation, access to finance and insurance, and the needed partnership and collaboration to drive all of these processes. Under awareness creation, raising awareness of cassava seed multiplication as a business opportunity for farmers is crucial to ensuring a sustainable seed system. As you are aware, some years back, when we were running the agricultural transformation agenda plan, we have refocused our efforts towards making agri a business rather than just a development issue. So when farmers can see potential benefits in engaging in stem multiplication, particularly in their income improvement, as well as how they contribute to the larger picture of crop production and our food basket in the nation for their household and also for the nation, and also in providing raw materials for industrial consumption, we gain a higher population of people involved to support the need of the country in quality reproduction. In addition to creating awareness of cassava seed multiplication as a business, there is also a need to raise awareness of the importance of insurance while you are carrying out your business operations in that regard. The ministry works with various partners and its agencies as well as programs to create awareness. Some of these agencies and programs include the National Agricultural Seed Council, which Dr. Ojo is here, who is the DG of that agency, National Root Crop Research Institute, which is our research arm. And when carrying out research, they work with farmers and different production clusters to promote not only the seed, the cassava production, but also seed business multiplication as a business. Root and tuber expansion program, which is in Ijebu Ife. Donor-assisted projects that have cassava as one of their target crops. The commodity associations, some of them are here present and have mentioned our collaboration with them, as well as IIT to create this awareness that we're talking about the importance of stem multiplication as a viable enterprise. As part of our effort towards developing the cassava value chain, I'm also happy to say that Nigeria has been given the hosting right of the Cassava Center of Excellence in Africa at NCRI, supported by Islamic Organization for Food Security for its member states. The center will therefore play a key role in the development of formal seed system for the country and other member countries. When we talk about access to finance and insurance, the awareness of business opportunities within the cassava seed system must be also backed with these support for prospective entrepreneurs in the value chain. Cassava entrepreneurs can also become experts in promoting the sustainable growth of the cassava seed system when they are given the necessary support in terms of finance and also a viable enabling environment. There are emerging opportunities, of course, allowing farmers to have access to finance and insurance for the betterment of their business and cassava value chain as a whole. Some of these are very innovative ideas that come from the young people and the private sector. As for my ministry, we had provided finance in the past specifically for cassava production, including stem multiplication as a business, while we still have some remnant of funds for processing with the Bank of Industry right now. The existing fund is meant, of course, this one that is remaining is meant for high quality cassava flour production and processing activities. But in the administration of all of this, insurance was a key element because you cannot give loans or grants without insurance. As you are also aware, the ministry has the NAIC, which is the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation, the mandate institution for providing insurance to the sector actors. Cassava is one of the crops eligible for 50% premium subsidy. And NAIC also, as part of its effort to bring the services to the target beneficiaries and to allow them to uptake these services, also engages in very wide awareness creation of their products and services. They have offices all over the country. In each state, they have an office representing them and carrying out activities to help the farmers access insurance. NAIC also works with private insurance companies to expand the pool of resources that can service farmers in this regard. And I think that is an area that key stakeholders should, especially in the insurance subsector, work with, work with NAIC to make sure that that is made available to farmers, and also the financial institutions should also promote this particular collaboration. The summit will not only focus on farmers, as many other actors also play a key role within the cassava value chain, and they also need this finance and insurance. Partnership and collaboration. There are many, like the FMRD, who is taking the lead in the development of the sector. There are other stakeholders across the public and private sectors who have key roles to play in providing financing and insurance opportunities for the value chain. These, of course, include but are not limited to CBN, NERSAL, in terms of de-risking the enterprises in agriculture, NAIC in terms of providing other private sector insurance companies, also in working with NAIC to provide the needed insurance for our teeming population of farmers in this particular sector. The associations who are the business interest groups for farmers should also are also key to this particular collaboration and playing a key role in driving this business idea and opportunities. I sincerely hope that this convening today will provide us with valuable insights and strategies to ensure the sustainable and growth of the cassava seed system, particularly highlighting the opportunities in the sector and the roles that different stakeholders must play, because we will need all hands to be on deck to ensure that we get to achieve the overarching goal for which we're here today. I envision this event will be a stepping stone, therefore, to future opportunities and collaborations among cassava entrepreneurs and stakeholders in Nigeria. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I wish us all a fruitful deliberations for the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that wonderful keynote. I must sincerely, I sincerely appreciate that on behalf of the forum. It is actually loaded with a lot of progress that the ministry has made, but also to the reassurance that the ministry is committed to working together with actors within the seed system space to take cassava to the next level. So thank you so much, Ma, for the presentation on behalf of the Permanent Secretary. And please do extend our sincere appreciation for his time, for his participation in this meeting. But again, we must assure the Permanent Secretary that indeed this is actually a stepping stone to cassava transformation in Nigeria. Thank you so much. With that, I will invite, if Professor Lateef Sani is around, to speak a bit how the Basics 2 project is catalyzing a formal cassava seed system. Sani, are you there now? Probably Sunny is trying to put things together. And so with that, I will invite the first session, the first panel discussion. And this panel discussion is going to be moderated by Mr. Oluwatosin Oni. And in the next 25 minutes, they will be speaking to us on the business of cassava stem production, emerging activities of CSCs, and challenges affecting the sustainability of cassava seed system. So, may I invite Mr. Tosin Oni to take over.
Thank you, Dr. Ase. It's my pleasure to welcome us again to this panel discussion. And we will be having a team of 4 panelists to discuss on the topic, the business of cassava stem production, emerging activities of the cassava seed entrepreneurs, and challenges affecting the sustainability of the cassava seed system. Join me in welcoming Mr. Francis Chia, who is the president of the National Association of Cassava Seed Entrepreneurs Network. Dr. Mrs. Augusta Amajoyi, who is the vice president of the network. Dr. Godwin Asumuga, the Acting Executive Director of the National Root Crop Research Institute, and Mr. Paul Eneko, the Zonal Manager, Eastern Zone of Mennonite Economic Development Associates in Tanzania. Thank you. I will be discussing with the panelists one after the other. So I'll put the first question to Mr. Francis Chia. Kindly just in 1 minute, just introduce yourself and what and your organization and how it contributes to sustaining the former cassava seed system in Nigeria. Just briefly, so that then we go to the next set of questions. So we move from you over to Dr. Amajoyi and Dr. Asumuga and Mr. Eneko. Mr. Francis Chia, can you unmute your mic so that we can hear you as you speak? Briefly introduce yourself, your organization, and its contribution to sustaining the former cassava seed system in Nigeria.
I'm Sir Francis Chia, and I'm the national president of the National Association of Cassava Seed Entrepreneurs in Nigeria, and Cassava Seed Network in Nigeria. We are contributing to sustaining the former cassava seed system in Nigeria in various ways. First of all, we improve the farmers' yield and income, and we provide reliable, high-quality planting materials of the newest and best varieties that are chewed out from the research institution to farmers. Access to these high-quality planting materials is difficult to come by. So like I said before, so many farmers resort into preserving some of the stems on their farm and replanting them the next year. That is not a good practice because you do not get the best from continuously recycling one type of variety, one type of planting material year in, year out. So most of them also buy uncertified stems from informal markets of questionable quality and unknown identity. The International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA Ibadan, and the Nigerian Root Crop Research Institute, Mudike, and other partners are working to address this problem. They are developing a new and more sustainable cassava system. They make high quality stems with high yielding varieties, some with very high resistant to diseases and pests. This project started about more than 5 years ago by a program called Building an Economically Sustainable Integrated Cassava Seed System, BASICS. Today we have Basic 2 of it. And we have today, by the actions of this, we have cassava seed entrepreneurs in Benue, Kogi, Abia, Imo, Akwa Ibom, Oyo states, and so on, who are saddled with the responsibility to multiply and sell stems. The goal of the project is to provide farmers with access to affordable quality assured seeds of cassava varieties in demand by the local food and processors, marketing through the establishment of a commercially viable seed value chain, operating across breeder, foundation, and commercial seed levels.
Okay,
at the level
thank
of
you
the
so
seed
much.
entrepreneur.
Thank you so much. Well, I'll get back to you for more responses and contribution. Let's go over to Dr. Mrs. Amajoyi. to introduce ourselves, also tell us about your organization and its contribution to meeting the sustainable farmer system of cassava. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, please.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, we can hear you. Speak on, please.
Okay. I'm Dr. Mrs. Amajoy, a CSC in Abia State, the Vice President of National Association of Seed Entrepreneur Network in Abia State, born in the year 2020. So in Nigeria, cassava producers have been facing so many challenges. The challenges include funding, mechanization, high cost of farm input, high cost of transportation, guaranteed market or off-takers, problem of free grazing, unavailability of an extension officer and certification officers, and lack of storage facilities. So in funding, to carry out the business activities as a result of unlimited access to funding and near impossible condition attached to accessing loans as well as high interest rates as a major challenge. Entrepreneurs have been finding it difficult to get loans because of the attachment involved by banks, giving them requesting for collateral. Sometimes commercial banks, the interest rate is as high as 22 to up to 28%. In that of mechanization, now mechanization has been a widely recognized as a missing input of Nigeria entrepreneur. Mechanization in Nigeria is still low at 0.7% horsepower per hectare, which is far below FOO recommendation at 1.5 horsepower. The high cost and lack of equipment is a very big challenge for commercial farmers, mainly the entrepreneurs. Also, the high cost of farm input. Inputs such as fertilizers, herbicides are not readily available, and they also at the very high prices, not easily affordable for the local farmers. Also, because of the high cost of the herbicide, there's a lot of adulteration in the market. Farmers will go to the market and buy herbicide and come out and see that that herbicide is fake. And after applying, all in vain. So coming to the high cost of transportation, because of the bulkiness of the planting materials, moving it from one place to another, sometimes is a bulky, because of its bulky nature, become a problem and a challenge. Another problem the entrepreneurs face is guaranteed market and off-takers. If you are producing and there is already market waiting for you in terms of seeds, the market moves, but sometimes you produce and there is nobody standing to take it. This is a problem. Like what is happening this year, there's a glut in cassava stem because a lot of farmers have the satisfied varieties already. They are no more demanding like before. Another problem is problem of free grazing. In Nigeria, herdsmen and the farmers, you see free grazing, they go to entrepreneurs and they finish almost 80% of the total plants. You see the farmer running a loss. Another problem we are facing in Nigeria is unavailability of extension officers and certified officers. For you as an entrepreneur to be able to market your seed as a certified seed, the National Association of Seed Council agents have to certify it as seed. Most times they are not readily available. And when you bring down that seed, that stem as a seed, you find it difficult to manage it. Another problem is lack of storage facilities and post-handling equipment is also a challenge. Sometimes when you harvest your products, there's no facilities for the storage, mainly the seeds. The seed cannot store more than 2 weeks. Sometimes even if you store it, you need to provide a conducive environment where there's air free or under the shade so that the stem can last up to 1 month or thereabouts. Coming to question 2.
Okay, so thank you. Hello, thank you, Doctor, for that. We'll come back to you for the next round of questions. I'll move over to Dr. Asumuga just for a brief introduction and of yourself and what you are doing to ensure the sustainability of the former cassava seed system in Nigeria. Dr. Asumuga, you have the floor.
Yes, good morning all.
Morning, sir.
I hope you are hearing my voice.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you please on my video? Okay. Yes. Good morning. I want to thank everybody here, especially Sahel Consulting, for organizing this important summit. Thank you so much. And to thank all the participants around. My name is Godwin Asumora, currently the Acting Executive Director at the National Root Crop Research Institute here in Umudike. I bring you greetings from National Root Crop Research Institute, Umudike, which has the national mandate for research and the development of root and tuber crops of economic importance. We know that National Root Crop Research Institute for now is the only root and tuber crop based research institute in sub-Saharan Africa. So we have the national mandate for this: cassava, yam, sweet potato, ginger, and other crops. And as a result, National Root Crop Research Institute has developed a lot of improved varieties of these crops, which cassava is standing top. Recently, some of you are aware that recently released cassava varieties by NextGen and other partners. They were recently launched in Kogi and the Benue states. So we collaborate with a lot of partners, donor agencies, of which BASIC is one, building a sustainable integrated cassava system in Nigeria. So BASIC has given us a mandate to put in place cassava seed entrepreneurs under its component 3 to make sure that farmers, cassava farmers, are producing quality assured seeds. And in doing this, National Root Crop Research Institute have been producing clean and improved cassava seeds. We have the capacity to produce the breeder and the foundation seed. So these cassava seed entrepreneurs we put in place, especially in our 3 mandate states of Imo, Akwa Ibom, and Abia. We are carefully selected, and these people were trained. We make sure that these people are people who are in the business, have the entrepreneurial spirit, and able to carry on the business. So they were carefully selected and trained in these 3 states to complement what CRS is doing in Benue and the Kogi state. So we did a capacity building to these seed entrepreneurs to go into seed production as a business. This is the mandate, and I think they are doing well. So in addition to that, other agencies join us like IFA Yes. So, and we have formed the network of cassava seed entrepreneurs. You have heard that from the chairman of NASER. And the certification is also mandatory for our CSCSEs.
Great.
For now,
thank you so
thank
much
you
for that detailed information on the contribution of NRCRI to sustaining the cassava seed system. We want to listen to Mr. Paul Eneko to tell us how MIDA, his organization, is also doing similar things, sustaining the cassava seed system in Tanzania, just in the next 1 or 2 minutes before we go to the next round of questions for all the panelists. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul, can you unmute yourself so that we can hear you?
Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good to see you. Otton, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
I was struggling to hear from your side, but now I can hear you very well.
Okay, so just briefly introduce yourself and then tell us what your organization is doing to sustain the former cassava seed system in Tanzania, just in the next 1 or 2 minutes. Then we'll go to the next round of questions to you and other panelists.
All right, thank you. So my name is Paul Simon Eneko, and I work for MEDA. MEDA, for the past 10 years, has been responsible for development of commercial seed enterprises here in Tanzania. So our role back then has been piloting business models that are commercially sustainable, as well as developing by building the capacity of individual farmers in making sure that they are able to sell planting materials to root farmers at a right quantity, right time, and at a price that farmers can afford. So that is what we have been doing previously, and we are currently trying to do the same. And we have been able to create a network of 641 cassava seed entrepreneurs in Tanzania, in actually 11 regions in the country. We are operating at the eastern zone, the lake zone, and the southern zone part of the country. So that is briefly what we actually doing. So in sustaining cassava seed system, what we are doing is trying to tweak the models to make them profitable for farmers to continue producing in a sustainable and perennial way. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Paul, for that brief about the activities of MIDA in the cassava seed system in Tanzania over the past 10 years. Thank you. So I'll move back to Mr. Francis Chia, and we'll be asking you to give us briefly the motivation behind the recently formed National Association of Cassava Seed Entrepreneurs Network. Just briefly tell us what is the motivation behind the formation of NACSEN. Over to you, Mr. Francis Chia.
Thank you, sir. Principally, the idea of farmers who plant plenty but get less for what they do is the principal motivational factor. Like every entrepreneur, we sought to problem solving, and our organization is a problem solving organization. We look at this problem of cassava value chain and we feel we can create value. Our creativity will bring value to existing problems. And as cassava seed entrepreneurs, we are wishing to be recognized as world leader of cassava value chain through the provision of quality, clean, and improved cassava seed to farmers. And to be recognized by the community in our specific field of specialization. At this level of the community, we also play the role of extension officers, because we are people who have been trained and are vast in the experience of cassava farming. So most farmers sought to come to us for explanation of issues concerning their farms. So we are both playing the extension services work, and majorly, we also wish to make cassava stem business a worthwhile business that every person, every young man can endeavor into it as a life-saving opportunity or business in life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If I maybe summarize some of what you said, your motivation is to ensure that Nigeria attains, the potential yields of improved varieties of cassava available. There is coordination of the various sellers of cassava stem, ensuring also that actually stems being sold are certified, and providing extension services to farmers. That is great. Thank you so much. I'll ask you another question in a while, but let me go back to Dr. Amajoyi, who has already enumerated so many of those challenges seed entrepreneurs face, which limit the sustainability of the operations in Nigeria. The question I will ask you, Dr. Amajoyi, is from your perspective as a cassava seed entrepreneur and the ongoing activities of your members, in what way do you think certified stem production is addressing the challenges of the cassava seed system and the value chain at large?
Thank you once again. The cassava seed entrepreneur, which I am, from the definition of cassava seed entrepreneur, the cassava seed entrepreneurs are community-based farmers who have the capacity to go into cassava multiplication and marketing as a business. The major role is to sell cassava foundation seed and certified seed to the farmers. So in order to solve their problem, one of the ways as an entrepreneur to solve their problem is by organizing training. One of the best ways of cassava seed entrepreneur can contribute significantly and drive significant value from the cassava seed value chain is by providing a training services to both aspiring and existing cassava farmers within their operational areas. By organizing a training, you are teaching them how to produce, how to market, and how to go about all the problems first. Another way, apart from training, you can sell cassava sales of certified improved cassava seed to farmers. An entrepreneur is the major distribution channel of certified cassava seed to the farmers. He is standing between the early generation seed and farmers. Being an entrepreneur, I'll be able to reach thousands of farmers who are looking for small quantity by selling 10 bundles, 5 bundles, 6 bundles, 1 bundle. So that they ensure increase their yield and improve productivities. Also showing example at the lowest level certification that before anything can be called seed, it must pass through certification. And also when NAT officers come to my farm to certify it, it becomes a thing of beauty to others that have farm around to see, yes, they can carry out seed production without missing up the varieties. Also, by helping a small-scale processors to be able to get materials when they need it for their small-scale production of garri, fufu, tapioca, and etc. Also, carry out weed management for them, because one of the major challenges of cassava producers is weed, because weed can take over almost 50% of their production. By advising them on the use of herbicide to control their weed, because from the first 6 weeks, if you're unable to control the weeds in your farm, it becomes a problem. In the value chain in cassava and producers, the value chain involves cassava producers, marketers, and processors. As a seed entrepreneur, people come to buy cassava from my farm. The transporter carry them. It generates small income for even for the secondary people. Because I am producing, people come and making garri and place their order. They buy it when they need it. In this way, I'm supporting the local processing industry. Also, apart from that, I'm also showing example in the value chain that high quality is being maintained following the good agricultural practices. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that response. I can pick up some things from there, provision of extension services, training farmers, bridging the gap between the research and the farmers, improving the adoption of improved varieties, across the value chain, also ensuring that processors, actually have access to the kind of raw materials they desire for their specific products, among others. And I see how you ensure that also, talking about the role, how it affects other parts of the value chain, transportation, and other, beneficiaries in the state. Thank you so much. I will take the next question to Dr. Godwin Asumunga. To tell us about your experience working with the commercial seed entrepreneurs, particularly in the Basics 2 project, and how those current activities can be scaled, to unlock potentials and opportunities to other stakeholders within the value chain. Dr. Sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tosi. Our experience in working with the cassava seed entrepreneurs have been tremendous. Those guys who have seen the business aspect of it are more motivated and encouraged. These CSEs are now producing clean planting materials. As I said earlier, we are working in 3 states in Southeast, South here, which is Imo, Abia, and Akwa Ibom. And we have onboarded a total of 110 cassava seed entrepreneurs in this zone. In addition to that, IFAD saw what we are doing and they came into the projects and brought their youths, IFAD youths. So we're able to onboard additional 120 youth cassava seed entrepreneurs. And these guys are doing fine from other 9 states. So they've embraced the system, producing clean, improved, and certified seeds, because NASC is also visiting their farms, the National Seed Council, to make sure that they are doing the right thing. And as I said, we build the capacity of these guys by organizing regular visits, more monitoring, and even a virtual training. So I think it has been a good experience, and we are equally scaling out, because others seeing the progress we are making are trying to keep into the system. So we are doing something about that. The CSCs are producing this season. They have started their cassava seed production, making sure that they adhere strictly to the requirements of being a CSE. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This is much appreciated. I've been notified that we are running out of time, so quickly I'll move to Paul. Kindly mention some of the challenges cassava seed entrepreneurs are experiencing in Tanzania, which you feel is limiting the sustainability of their operations. Paul, please.
Oh, thank you, Austin. In Tanzania, when we started building commercial seed entrepreneurs in many communities, you find there are competing objectives. You find a community have an objective of reducing food insecurity. and while you're trying to build a commercial. So in a process of building commercial seed system, you'll find the very same community, the local government leaders, buying from anywhere they could find and distribute seed for free. But and that practice really demotivated some of the cassava seed entrepreneurs who were within those communities. But we worked with our mainstreaming component very well, and we tried to address that challenge, and it has been reduced significantly because it really did demotivate many of the cassava seed entrepreneurs who were around those particular community. One other challenge was on the isolation distances. You know, with the certified seed, you need to acquire a minimum of isolation distance that is required cassava seed protocol. So you find that this CSC this year has planted and acquired that minimum requirement of isolation, but next year the cassava producer who is bordering next to the cassava seed entrepreneur is planting just next to him, just to reduce the isolation distance, and in that way they're not really allowed to go for further inspection and certification. That one also really demotivated, and when they were asked to uproot, they really demanded a lot of money to be compensated. So that one was also amongst challenges that could really affect the sustainability. Another challenge is the access to finance. With access to finance, we all know that cassava takes more than 9 to 12 months to maturity. So before that, you need to inject a lot of cash in terms of investing into it. So in that process, you really need. CSC is also being encountered with other challenges like taking kids to school, which are also important area that money can be spent. So in that really period needs some sort of financial backup, and many of the financial institutions in the country consider cassava as one of the very risky crop to invest in or to give loan. And that the same goes to lack of insurance packages that could really address or that could really solve the challenges. Like last year when we had the COVID breakdown pandemic the world, we had processors who were linked by to the cassava seed entrepreneurs who wanted to sell cassava to China, but they couldn't sell. So that eventually translated into low demand for seed. So those insurance companies who cassava as one of the risky crop really put cassava as one of the very risky, and it really translates into lack of sustainability in the cassava seed system, and really does demotivate for investment. Another challenge is on the engagement of women and youth. Due to lack of major means of ownership to major means of production like land and source of payment to laborers, you find it as a way that demotivates women, especially women in CSC, not to be part of the project. As we have currently only around 30% of the cassava seed entrepreneurs are women. So we are working with the stakeholders, and we did studies to understand the reason as to why women are not really part of the project. And that does not only include women, even youth. So we did a study that tried to look at those challenges that could be addressed by the project, and we are now using the wisdoms that were shared during from the report and trying to engage more. And we have seen recently that we've been able to recruit almost 57% of the new recruitment were women. So those are the few challenges that I think would limit the sustainability. Because if you speak of sustainability, you cannot leave out youth, and you cannot leave out access to finance, and you cannot also leave out the issue of free distribution as the key challenges that would really hinder the sustainability of the seed system. Thank you, Tosin.
Thank you, Paul. I've been hinted that we have exhausted our time for this. We could see that the situation in Tanzania and Nigeria are quite similar in terms of some of the challenges being faced in the seed system, towards ensuring the sustainability. But they are not unsurmountable challenges. There are some challenges that can really be addressed. And I'm sure one of the major common challenge, which is finance and the issue of insurance and others, which really can help address so many other things, is what we'll be discussing maybe in the next panel discussion. So I want to really appreciate our panelists, Mr. Francis Chia, the National President of NACSEN in Nigeria, Dr. Mrs. Augusta Amajoyi, the Vice President of the Association, NACSEN, Dr. Godwin Asumuga, the AG Chief Executive of NRCRI. Congratulations once again. And Mr. Paul Eneko, the Zonal Manager for NIDA in Tanzania. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure you could stay back and then let's see addressing some questions that may be posed by the listeners as we proceed. And I hand over back to Dr. Godwin Ase for continuation of the other stage of the summit. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Tosin. Time is not our friend, and we are trying to catch up things. So please, we are collecting the questions. Just drop them here. We have a session to answer all of those. But quickly, we are going to move to the next presentation, and I'm sure that some of the questions will be answered in this session. Exploring financing opportunities for seed entrepreneurs in the cassava value chain. And this is going to be moderated by Ms. Ifeoluwa Olorun Nipa. She's a manager with Sahel Consulting. So let me invite Ife to have the floor and invite the participants, the panelists, for this discussion. And please keep it to 25 minutes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Atta. It's my pleasure to serve as the moderator for this panel, where we'll be exploring financing opportunities for seed entrepreneurs in the cassava value chain. And I like to think that the first panel has ushered us nicely into this one because we've heard so much about the activities of the cassava seed business entrepreneurs, and they've also highlighted some of the challenges that they face, particularly in financing and insurance. And now we have the opportunity to speak on what opportunities are available for finance and insurance to further support their activities towards a sustainable seed system. And on this panel today, we would have three speakers from diverse groups who will be contributing to this discussion. First, we have Mr. Ayodele Olaleye, who is the head of agricultural insurance at Veritas Capital. We also have Mr. Olushola Obikonye, who is the group head of agriculture at Sterling Bank. And finally, we have Mr. Stephen Magige, who is the country manager at MIDA. MIDA is one of the implementing partners on the Basics 2 project in Tanzania. And given that our time is fast spent, I'd like us to go directly into the discussions with specific questions posed to the panelists. And then I'd like to ask the panelists that, before you're answering the questions that have been posed to you, if you could just provide a brief introduction of yourself and as well as your organization. And I'd like to start with Mr. Obikonye. Mr. Obikonye, we've heard so much about, financing being a bottleneck into the activities of commercial seed entrepreneurs. So just wanted to, and also this has been highlighted on the previous panel, and I wanted to ask, how is Sterling Bank creatively addressing the problem of providing financing, particularly for farmers or entrepreneurs in the agriculture sector? Over to you, Mr. Obikonye.
Okay, thank you very much, Eldua. I'm trying to change the source of my network. So right now, you will permit that I just restrict myself to voice. Then I can then enable my video. So I think that the tone has been set by the previous panel on the dire need for us to put our money where our mouth is, as they say. Feeding the nation is everyone's responsibility. And this is the mantra that guides our actions in Sterling Bank as far as the agri sector is concerned. Arthur Lewis has said that if agriculture remains stagnant, industry cannot grow. So we believe that Nigeria's industrialization and poverty reduction will come from a sector that provides the highest means of livelihood. And it is to that end that for us in Sterling, we have dedicated amount of resources, both human and financial, to ensure that 5 key sectors get the attention they deserve. These sectors are called the heart of Sterling. I'm talking about health, education, agriculture, renewable energy, and transportation. So the acronym of HEART is gotten out of this sector. And if you look at that acronym, you realize that Agric is in the middle of that. And that underscores the fact that Agric is in the heart of Sterling. We have developed a bouquet of agricultural loan products that can cater to all the cadres of our clientele base. To achieve this, we've actually recently increased our loan, should I say our risk asset portfolio, for agribusiness. Prior to this time, I think we had dedicated 10% of our risk asset portfolio to the sector, and a little bit beyond now, I think we've pushed it up to some 12.5%, and it is still undergoing review for an even greater increase. And then based on our years of experience within the sector, what we have tried to do is to also build expertise, in the agri-financing segment, because one of the issues we have is this, that is in the banking sector generally in Nigeria, is the capacity for agri-finance. So we have built expertise in that area by making sure that advisory services, training where required, amongst other ancillary services, connect very well with our technical partners, and we are then able to offer that with finance to our esteemed clients. So for us, value chain financing remains the name of the game. We have tried to understand the sector. We cannot say that the banking sector has the full understanding of what is on the table, but within the constraint of the terrains in which we play in Nigeria, we have come up with a bouquet of risk asset facilities that stakeholders or value chain players can access. And since we are speaking to Cassava seed, we have a couple of partnerships in that area, and we intend to deepen our business, specifically in the Cassava value chain. Maybe I'll stop here so that you can. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. One thing you mentioned, of course, very key, feeding the nation is everyone's collective responsibility. And it's interesting to see that agriculture is at the heart of what, your values are at Sterling Bank, and also with the opportunities that Sterling Bank provides. Now, I want to ask as a follow-up to that, what, there are so many opportunities, but how is Sterling Bank ensuring that these opportunities or information on these opportunities are actually reaching the farmers where they are, or reaching maybe rural farmers or community level entrepreneurs that may not necessarily be able to access these finances, these opportunities rather? Okay, I think you're muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, so thank you very much. I think we said it earlier that a premium attention should be accorded to the sector that clearly contributes very significantly to our national GDP. We know that depending on the statistics you are looking at, that 75% of our population are agrarian, and probably 85 of these 75% are in the small and that's the micro and small, medium scale category. That speaks to the fact that the bulk of our smallholder farmers will need access to information apart from finance. And what we have tried to do to be able to make access to finance possible for this category of people is to leverage on the financial inclusion drive, not just of the federal government, but to which many banks, including ours, have keyed into, such that by the time we are able to extend financial inclusion services to the last mile farmer or value chain player, we are then able to, on the back of that, ride on, offer what I would call the relevant products that will guarantee the access to finance for these farmers. So there's a lot of campaign and drive on all platforms, not necessarily on the conventional channels alone. We have attempted to ride on our social media platforms, but more importantly, the local communication channels, so that the information, including the services, I'm talking about all the values that the financial inclusion services will bring to the table, we are able to make sure that it gets to the last mile farmer. But that does not mean that they are the only ones that we are working with. We are also leveraging information channels to other categories of farmers or value chain players, like I love to call them, because we are not just about the primary producers alone, to make sure that they are aware of the bouquet of products that they can have access to. Of course, like I said, it's a bespoke offering, because it puts on the table information, it puts on the table capacity building, in best agronomic practices, as well as other technical support services. And so we tend to have this partnership with all of these stakeholders, so that by the time the product or the financial services gets to the ultimate recipient or beneficiary, he then is able to not just have the information, but then garner the capacity to be able to access finance. I hope that satiates that question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Obikonye. And we've spoken a bit on financing now, so I'd like to move to insurance, and this is Mr. Olaleye. So specifically, I would like to ask what opportunities, Veritas Capital provides for stakeholders, and also understanding that there are different stakeholder groups. How does the organization ensure that, each stakeholder group or value chain actor is adequately exposed to the services that the organization offers? You're muted, sir, so we can't hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. So thank you for this opportunity to be on this summit, for us to be able to provide clarity on some of the issues that border on insurance. So in terms of opportunities for us in Veritas Capital Assurance, we also look at insurance from the value chain perspective, just like my colleague from the banking sector has said. And so when you look at value chain, it's broken into about 4 basic segments. You talk about the pre-upstream, the upstream, the midstream, and the downstream. Across all these segments, you have risks, that affect farmers, and so that affect the value chain actors in particular. And speaking specifically about cassava seed, which is what we're looking at today, we also can see that their activities cut across these 4 segments either way, because by the time they are providing cassava seed, they are acting as input suppliers, where you have, the pre-upstream segment. And of course, also, you cannot produce cassava seed without acting as an upstream sector, because real on-farm production must take place. And then in the process, as cassava seed entrepreneurs, they will have to do a bit of storage, and then they will have to do a bit of logistics that puts them in the midstream also. And of course, they are also, are selling this cassava seed as they commercialize their activities. So essentially, as cassava seed actors, their activities cut across the 4 segments. So if we talk about the opportunities that we provide, I would say that we have offerings, in terms of suite of products that meet the needs of this cassava seed actor. So for example, if you look at it from the upstream segment, where the real on-farm activities happen, we have a product that we refer to as the indemnity-based insurance, which can help the farmers to be able to get indemnified if there is any form of risk that crystallizes in the course of production of their cassava seed. For example, they are insured against risks like fire, flood or drought and all of this. So they have the opportunities for them to be able to participate in insurance in this segment, and then they are protected so that they can continue to sustain their activities. Because one key thing that insurance does is that it helps the actors to be able to build resilience over time, by the fact that they are able to get some comfort in terms of a plowback from insurance in case any risk crystallizes. So apart from the fact that we have opportunities for them in the upstream sector, where I talked about, the indemnity-based insurance product. For those of them that may be operating in cluster, we also have what we call the area yield index insurance that allows, the farmers or the upstream actors to be able to benefit from, insurance payout, that is based on a particular predetermined yield expectation. So that way, they are not just getting paid for whatever they have lost, they can get a payout for an expected yield. So that's another product that, we have been able to put in place. And then, because this cassava seed farmers are dealing, in the pre-upstream as well as input suppliers. So we also have, products that speak to their need. For example, if they had to store their produce, their cassava stem before they can sell, maybe for a while, so they want to ensure the warehouse where they are storing it, or maybe they're keeping it in the open, and then, they want to be able to insure it. We have opportunity for them, in the course of transporting the cassava, particularly in the days of security challenges. We also have an offer of what we call, good in transit that they can also be protected against. For us in Veritas Capital Assurance, because one of the issues about insurance is that many times you discover that insurance products are not really tailored, specifically to meet the needs, of the actors. But one thing that we have also done is to be able to be flexible such that we can tweak, the dynamics of our products, the policy, terms and conditions to meet the needs of the actors that we're dealing with. And then beside that, also we offer what we call technical services, advisory services, because you don't want to also just insure, so that the people come back for payout. If you have to give payout every time, then there's no sustainability on our part. So one of the things we do is to also offer, technical assistance in terms of advisory services to ensure that the risks that we're actually insuring the farmers against, they are also able to mitigate the crystallization of this risk. So these are some of the opportunities that are available, for farmers, who want to work with us in the insurance sector.
Thank you so much for highlighting the services that Veritas Capital provides in terms of insurance specifically for cassava farmers. Now, one of the questions that I have, and also something that I'm sure is on the mind of the entrepreneurs here, is you've mentioned one of the services around insurance for security in transporting maybe the stems. But specifically for this value chain, we know that there are so many issues around attacks in terms of on the farm from herdsmen. So are there any tailored services from Veritas Capital to address those particular challenges that cassava farmers are facing?
Okay, fantastic question. So in the area of the crops for now, we have a product on the works, as a consortium that we're looking at that could help to be able to address that, because when these herdsmen attack, the loss is usually massive. One of the industry players have tried it, but we discovered that it was eating very strongly on their bottom line. So the idea is for us to begin to look at how we can share this risk so that we can approach it as a consortium. But for us specifically in Veritas Capital Assurance, many times when we look at risk, people tend to talk about the product that maybe the entrepreneurs are dealing in, but they don't even look at the entrepreneurs themselves. And the research has shown that about 80% of the risks that value chain actors face, they are even more of the non-crop or non-livestock related. They are more related to the individuals. So we have a specific product that we call group accident product that helps to protect the farmers themselves. So if they subscribe to this, or if the entrepreneurs subscribe to this, in case of an attack on the field, they can now get treated if they have subscribed to that particular insurance product. So what is important to us is that the people are also able to stay alive, so they are insured against personal disability or any form of accident. And that is available for all agricultural workers that subscribe to our insurance product.
Thank you so much, Mr. Olaleye, for that. I'm also really mindful of time. So I'd like to, well, before we come back to all the other speakers, I'd like us to go over to Mr. Stephen now. And the question I have really is around, because based on your experience in Tanzania, are there any specific insurance or finance models that seed sector stakeholders are leveraging that can be adopted to ensure the sustainability of the seed system and also the sustainability of cassava seed entrepreneurs? Over to you, Mr. Stephen.
Thank you very much. Good morning in Nigeria, and good afternoon, colleagues from Tanzania. My name is Stephen Magige. I work for the organization called MIDA. MIDA stands for Mennonite Economic Development Associates. And at MIDA, we have a tagline of addressing challenges that are facing community using business solutions which are sustainable. At MIDA, we had the same challenge of accessing financial services. And in financial services, it includes loan, saving facilities, as well as insurance. And addressing this challenge, we managed to establish a savings and credit cooperative association. That is, we know that a SACCOS, one of the, when you want to establish a SACCOS, you need to have a common bond. So it's the SACCOS of the seed producers. So they tailor-made, customize their product to address their financial need challenge. For example, the size of the loan, the time to get loan, but also they are using market-led interest rate as opposed to the other sources like individual money lender, whereby they charge exorbitant interest rates. So one is the SACCOS, and we have 3 SACCOS in the Eastern Zone, in the Southern Zone, and in the Lake Zone. And so far, they've issued financial loan to 148 cassava seed entrepreneur, and 80% is men, and 20% were women CSC. And when you look at the portfolio at risk, the SACCOS are doing very well. And one of the SACCOS has 100% repayment rate, and the other one has a bit more challenge, and the repayment rate is averaged at 65. The other The other approach that we used was the agreement between aggregator, an exporter, one exporter. So there was a red market. So the aggregator and the government through the district council had the agreement. The government provided guarantee to cassava farmers, and the aggregator, the exporter, were agreed to buy all the produce that will come out of farmers. And also there was a bank, a National Microfinance Bank, to provide financial services, not to provide loan. And they managed to give, it was 3.04 billion Tanzanian shillings to 400 farmers to grow cassava. And on that one, there was other players, the projects and NGOs, that the mandate was to build now the capacity of farmers to make sure that they abide to all the agronomic requirements so that they can optimize yield and sell to the exporter. So that was the second type of arrangement that we had. The third one is work in progress. We are working with one processor who has established a demand creation trial. And with the demand creation trial, they will identify the varieties that are required, that they best need for their final product. And once they know and identify the varieties, then they will communicate with the CSC around to produce seeds. So the processor is agreed that he will pay the CSC for the seeds and they give the seed to the contracted farmers. And then they will be having arrangement with the contracted farmer, between the contracted farmer and the processor, to sell all the produce that they'll get to the processor. And in that way, they'll deduct the money that they used in buying cassava seed. So with that arrangement, it's a win-win. The cassava seed producer will have the assured market for their roots, but also the farmer will get will have market, ready-made market for their roots, but also the processor will get the raw material for its processing unit. So that are the three approaches that we're using to address the issue of financial services to our farmers.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Stephen. And I know that we're running out of time, but one thing that you said struck me, and I would like to ask, and this would also go as a final charge or final question to all panelists. In terms, you mentioned around 148 loans already being provided to specific seed entrepreneurs. What specifically, the media do to better position these entrepreneurs to access these opportunities? Because it's one thing for the opportunities to be available, but also we need to ensure that the entrepreneurs are in the right position, have the right information to access these opportunities. So we'll start with you, Mr. Stephen. What media did and what your final charge would be for entrepreneurs to better position themselves to access these opportunities. And we'll go to Mr. Obikonye and then Mr. Olaleye. Go ahead, Mr. Stephen.
Yeah, so thank you very much. And that is a very good question. MIDA, as I said, is an organization that uses business solution to address challenges. When we started, we were issuing grants to CSC to start up seed production, but then we realized that this is not sustainable. We had a meeting with CSC, and together we agreed on how we can solve this problem of accessing financial services in a sustainable way. So they established their savings and cooperative credit societies. So this belongs to the CSC, and the loan is them who are providing loan to their members. So what MIDA is doing is to train them on how they can market now the product that they have. But with the CSC to increase their capital, they need to increase membership, because source of capital comes from the savings, share and the interest from the loan. So we are thinking of advising them that they extend to other chain actors like farmers, cassava farmers, and even those who are doing cottage processing. And also we are thinking of working with the bank because most of the financial institutions now are doing downscaling. So if they can wholesale lend to the SACCOs, and the SACCOs then can retail to their members. So for the member to access these financial services from the SACCOs is for the SACCOs to do marketing so that they get more members and interest out of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stephen. Over to you, Mr. Obikonye. What's your final charge to participants to ensure that they can they are well positioned to access the services we've spoken about today, specifically at Sterling Bank?
Okay, thank you very much, Ifelua. I think consistent with our drive to deepen our activities in the agri space, we will continue to work with all stakeholders to make sure that we get to the people that are really, really into the activities, talking about the real sector, primary production, processing and all. But a little beyond that, maybe I should just say that one of the things we have done in our financial inclusion drive is to host a radio outreach. We know that we have a radio Sterling that we have engaged in partnership with some strategic radio stations, especially in the northern part of the country, where in the local languages we are able to push or disseminate information that can actually help in the financial inclusion efforts. But going forward, I think the access to finance has been coordinated, and I would say really, there has been a robust participation in this country as far as access to finance is concerned. We know the efforts of the government in availing intervention funds, and although there has been a lot of debate that intervention funds are not sustainable, yes, but the fact remains that they are stimulants that are necessary to be able to, should I say, assure the growth of the sector as it is. So intervention funds are out there in the space, and banks are leveraging on that. Food security is national security. And so one would not expect that the government will look completely away from them. They will continue to stimulate that. But what we have done in Sterling Bank is to take position to make sure that whatever has been stimulated remains consistent. We're able to sustain it. We've taken position, for example, to work with strategic partners in such a manner that we are then able to provide affordable funds available at single-digit interest rates to the people who actually playing in the segment that we desire, especially the primary production segment that eventually generates the kind of input. I'm talking about cassava seeds, for that particular value chain. So we have a strategic partnership with one of our development partners to come up with a product that is known as the Sterling Women and Youth in Agri Finance. We're able to come together with a matching fund with our partner to be able to avail loan facilities at the single digit rate, as a single digit of 9%, interest rate. It competes very well with the intervention funds of government. And this is what we are then applying to our farmers who are unable to access the government intervention funds. Specifically speaking to agri, we've also gone on to partner with people in the, specifically speaking to cassava, we've gone on to people that are major players here. And on a modest note, we are partnering with IITA, in funding, because what they have done is they have presented to us a cluster of cassava seed growers for funding. And under a particular understanding, we are then able to fund people who are specifically involved in this business. So far, I think we've been able to fund about 588 hectares of this type of business. And of course, we look forward to growing that space. Challenges are there to the extent that there are Nigeria, as we know, the climate that we are in, we need to continue to explore ways to be able to do businesses in a way that will be mutually beneficial to all of the key stakeholders. We know that the issue of poor infrastructure is there. Poor structure system, remains a bane to a seamless flow, when it comes to access to finance. I must also say that these are work in progress. A lot of work is being done to ensure that these challenges are addressed, and as they are addressed, definitely you will see a lot of entry into that. We know that part of the efforts that are being made is the financial inclusion drive of the government, in which we are very actively involved. I spoke about the information dissemination on our various platforms, including the radio outreach in specific regions of this country. I know that that has really given us the kind of feedback that we want. And we've, on the platform of that, been able to identify clusters of people who are genuinely interested, or who are genuinely active in these types of business. We're able to then build capacity with the various partners, and then provided we have then provided financing opportunities. And then we speak to, of course, for us in the financial system, we need a lot of tools to be able to really engage the sector. One of such critical tools is the availability of reliable data. Again, I will say that this is work in progress. But we really do not have what I would call the clean data that can enable us conduct our analytics, assess the needs, and then engage in the way that we would have loved to so do. I think my colleagues also...
I'm so sorry to come in here, but we're really running out of time. But I would just like us to go to the last person, Mr. Olaleye, in 1 minute, your final charge for participants in how they can better position themselves to address this access these opportunities we've spoken about today.
Okay, thank you very much. Final charge, how they can access, I would say that farmers should try, cassava seed multipliers now that we're talking about, talking to today, should keep open mind, because one of the challenges we've had in insurance is, averseness to insurance because of lack of trust, poor understanding of the dynamics of how insurance works. Many people think insurance, like I usually say whenever I'm talking to an audience, they take insurance to be like an MMM, you put in something and then you get triple of it, but it doesn't exactly work like that. So it has to do with, long stay in terms of partnership, you build relationship over time, and then you get rewarded anytime you have any challenge. So basically, I would say that, our partners that we're speaking to today should try as much as possible to keep an open heart, and then to try as much as possible to also key in into opportunities, particularly in the government sector. For example, one of the things we are doing recently, we're talking to Pula, which is a key partner in area yield index insurance, where Pula is already looking into how they can bring in intervention funds to subsidize the cost of insurance, such that, they create win-win for both the insured and the insurer providing the insurer, because that will make it easier for us to be able to deliver the product at a sustainable rate, and then for also the insured to be able to assess the product at affordable rate. So I would say that the key thing is keep an open heart, and then try as much as possible to key into opportunities that abound within agricultural insurance, particularly with government or programs that are ongoing, and for some private organization-driven programs like Sterling Bank, whom we have been talking to in the area of building partnership, particularly looking at bulk pricing for insurance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And at this point, I really would just like to thank all the panelists for such an enriching discussion. I think two things that stood out to me today, and I'm taking away from this panel, is, there's the opportunities in the sector. One thing we definitely need to raise awareness to ensure that the farmers or the value chain actors that require these opportunities are able positioned to access them. And we've now come to the end of this panel discussion. And on behalf of the organizations behind the summit, I would like to sincerely appreciate you for your time and the insights that you've shared so far. I will now hand over to our event moderator, Dr. As. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks to everyone for your time. We know that we are right behind schedule. But in the next few seconds, we are going to close. We have some questions in the chat box, and I will be taking those questions before we close. The first is about certification. What constitutes certification for seed entrepreneurs, and what is the average size or a slight scale of seed entrepreneurs? Tosin, can you respond to this, or somebody from NASC?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Asa. Actually, did the response and mentioned that certification is a series of process that includes proper accreditation of the fields that is in an intending seed producer, wants to establish. Such person must also have, registered the production details in the Cassava seed, in the National Seed Tracker, or the Cassava Seed Tracker as it is. Thereby notifying NASC about the field. And it now also includes ensuring good agronomic practices, establishing fields in accordance to the cassava seed certification protocols established by NASC, which such intending seed entrepreneur must have availed him or herself of. For the seed entrepreneurs under our projects, NASC provides, capacity building or sensitization on all these requirements. And then it includes, NASC will actually come and inspect the fields between 2 to 3 times before establishment, shortly after establishment, and then close to the period of harvest to check, for the various quality parameters, that are associated with issuing a certificate of certification, to a specific field. So this includes ensuring that the variety planted is true to type, there are no mixtures, disease threshold, if any, doesn't exceed permissible thresholds. The field is clean, not weedy, and among others, isolation distance, if there are more than one varieties, among other reasons. So these are the key things that certification, really encompasses or entails. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tosin, for that explanation. The next question is, do we need fertilizer for cassava production? The answer is yes. You can grow cassava on poor soils, and even if you're growing on any particular soil, you know that the cassava will be taking up nutrients, and therefore there is need for you to replenish your soil. Therefore, fertilizer is recommended. But again, it is important for you to do soil tests. We have the Aquilimo app that can also advise you when it comes to fertilizer recommendation. The other question is, when is the last month to plant cassava? From experience, we advise that cassava needs 3 months of rainfall, and therefore it will be important for you to plant, having in mind that you are targeting the last 3 months, 2 to 3 months at least, of moisture. And therefore, if you take time to monitor the rain pattern. These days, it comes from NIMET. Say, for instance, they informed you that the last rains will come up in December. Then one would advise that by September, you should plant your cassava, and latest end of September, if possible, you should stop, so that it will have time to have enough moisture to establish. Is very important. Don't plant in December, because when you plant at that time, there will be no much rain within the first 3 months, and that will affect the growth of your cassava. Please, how can the issue of logistics of planting materials be addressed? Yes, for now, you can move your cassava stems in trucks. There are some plantlets that come, but those are very small, in little boxes. The Basics 2 project is also carrying out experiments for the pencil type of cassava stems, but this is still a challenge as I speak to all of us. Hopefully, if we get a technology that we minimize the sizes of cassava, that would be very helpful. Which reliable and accessible financial institution can one get funding for the cassava seed system? We have some institutions here, so you may get in touch with Sterling. We may not recommend, but of course there are a host of financial institutions out there. You may also contact the Central Bank of Nigeria, who are implementing the Anchor Borrowers Scheme, to give you guidance on how to access funds under that program, and also the 5-star cassava project. The other comments I see is immense appreciation to all our speakers and panelists. Quite some insights gained today. This is coming from Tunji Joseph, and his questions are: what is the effort being put in place to have cassava cover some gaps in the wake of wheat price availability in the face of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine crisis? Yes, Tunji, what you have mentioned is very important. Cassava can actually serve as a cushion to the current crisis that we are faced with. That's why a meeting like this, throwing up the opportunities that are in cassava for people to key into it and grow the crop, becomes important. Of course, we are also discussing with other agencies of the government to take advantage of cassava, especially the inclusion in bread. Currently, as I speak to you, India has blocked the export of wheat. So you may have resources, you may have money, but you may not have wheat. And therefore, the prices of bread will continue to rise. But you can use the high quality cassava flour to actually hedge against these rising prices. So it's an opportunity, and the policymakers are also here with us to take advantage of cassava. Then let me see in the chat box again. Yes, I've answered that. Onotebi, I can see that some people are also answering the questions, so I won't take those because of our time. And then a comment is here: until the insurance against malicious damage is covered, we are not there yet. The risk of herdsmen attack is real and is with us. What is the way out? This is a very important one because even sometimes the banks are also very careful to fund Cassava. Do we have somebody from the finance to respond to this? Whether they are taking risk from herdsmen, from the herders?
Okay, so yeah, can I respond to that?
Yeah, quickly, please.
Okay, so because I know that I mentioned that in the course of my conversation with the our anchor, I mean the entire team, that there are two aspects of the insurance, against this herdsman attack. One is one that affects the person, who is actually doing the cultivation. So there could be personal disability, ultimately sometimes it could lead to death. So what we have for now, even though we don't do life insurance, but what we have, for example, in Veritas Capital Assurance, is what we call the group personal accident insurance product that helps to insure the workers against personal disability. So that is in place for now. Then the one for the farmers, the crops now that may be damaged, I said that we're looking into that as a consortium. We as an organization, we're trying to see how we can even lead that such that we spread the risk, because a single insurance organization might not be able to undertake that risk. And we know that that has come to stay with us. So, because the industry is regulated, before you can have such a product like that, the regulator also must endorse it. So we're already thinking and working towards developing a product that will bring in, different insurance companies so that we can spread the risk, and then, that malicious damage can actually be insured against. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that explanation. And another one is what efforts have we made in Nigeria to ensure CBN loan facilities are really made available to cassava seed growers? What is the update from the Nigerian Cassava Growers Association on this? I know that the CBN gave some funds to the cassava growers. If there's any update, I'm afraid we don't have somebody from cassava growers. Do we? If not, we will wait for them. So basically, these are the questions that we have, except the one from the Cassava Growers Association. I know that we had a meeting with the Cassava Growers Association and CSEs, and they've been in their own little way trying to see how they can work with the banks, because CBN as a bank does not lend directly to the seed entrepreneurs or to farmers, but they go through banks. So the last I heard was that they connected the seed entrepreneurs to the NISA Microfinance Bank, which is a bit related to CBN, so that they can provide funds to them. But as I speak to you, they have not received money loans from the bank. So it's still a work in progress. Thank you, host. Please, I want to know how Sahel comes into helping cassava seed growers in providing processing machines for that aspect of expansion. I think today our discussion is more on seed system. We create time to bring on board processing equipment manufacturers, and there we can discuss this. But of course, you know that Sahel is part of basics, and our focus is on seed system for now. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. It has been quite an engaging session, and I will be inviting Dr. Philip Ojo, who is the DG, the Director General for National Agricultural Seed Council, NASC, to give us the first part of the closing remarks, and if Professor Latif Sani, he will also give us another closing remarks, and then we close the session. Dr. Ojo, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Godwin, for a good job you've done. I want to say that it's actually a great pleasure and honor to be called upon to give the first closing remark of the 2022 Seed Business Summit. You all agree with me that the summit has been very apt, and I'm very optimistic it's going to catalyze the needed growth in the cassava seed value chain in both countries, Nigeria and Tanzania. A lot of issues have been raised, and the discourse has been very, very rich and enlightening and robust. This is a great move to setting the cassava seed business in the right direction we all deserve. Taking a special look at the area of finance and insurance has been a source of joy to me, because many of the issues bedeviling the sector are hinged on inadequate finance and lack of access to insurance packages, in addition to other challenges identified. As a regulator of the seed space, National Agricultural Seed Council will continue to work assiduously to support the growth of the sector without compromising standards. We are going further ahead of virtual certification to include diagnosis certification, all in a bid to ensure that disease-free propagating materials are made available to enhance the productivity of the crop. This summit has really opened up the channels to mitigating some of the hydra-headed challenges that were identified. Also, the summit has brought out all the business models of the cassava seed industry with its peculiarities, and we expect that this will afford the financial houses and insurance houses to be able to focus particularly on how to actually ensure that these issues are addressed. Distinguished participants, I want to solicit for your continuous cooperation toward the development of a very robust cassava seed industry. Our discussions and resolutions here today is just a tip to achieving a very long-term dream of a sustainable cassava seed system. And it has actually awakened us out of the dream for us to be able to stand tall and focus on what we're supposed to do. But let me assure you that NASC is ready to continue to assure the quality of planting materials that are needed for the value chain. Finally, let me congratulate and commend Sahel Consulting, Basic 2 projects, the CRS, the IITA, and other stakeholders for this strategic effort to put this summit together. And I wish to appeal to all the conveners and all the agencies that the findings and recommendations and key suggestions emanating from this summit should be considered for quick and strategic implementation. On this note, let me say thank you for this opportunity while we wait for Professor Sani to close the summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, my DG, Dr. Philip Ojo, for the closing remarks. I'm going through the list here. Is Professor Sani in the house? All right, I can't see him here. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for participating in this wonderful summit. It has been quite an interesting and enlightening one. Thanks to everyone that took time to be part of this this event, and we wish you a wonderful weekend, a wonderful day ahead, and thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Godwin. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much,
Very,
DJ.
very wonderful.
Godwin, thank you.
Well done.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Everybody.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Gigi. Good evening. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Tosin. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Timmy.
Thank you, Sahel team, for the opportunity.
Very good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ayo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Magdalene.
Muga, we must stop.
Thank you, Dr. Madre. Thank you. Dr. Muga, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr.
Mr. Ayo, Balale, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, sir.
Thank you. A good
Thank
job.
you.
Tosin, we need to catch up.
Yes, really, really, yeah.
Yeah.
Get to call you now.
My DG, sir, I salute you.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I've been calling you. We must talk immediately after the summit.
You are very right. I've been calling the ED too.
ED,
he has
sir.
not responded to my call. My hand is up.
I hope he's not hiding now. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Godwin, a very good job. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Godwin, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Thank you.